victory in alliance with their trade unions. Finally, this book is an attempt to extract the main political lessons of the 2018 upsurge, the first wave of U.S. work stoppages in multiple generations. Our side doesn't win very often. For decades, workers, organized labor, and the left have been losing a one-sided class war waged by billionaires and their apologists. If we want to build an effective alternative to Trump and the far right, we can't afford to ignore the experience of the Red State Revolt. A historic upsurge. At most times and in most places, the norm is working-class resignation rather than resistance. But the first few months of 2018 were one of those rare instances in U.S. history when ordinary people forced their way into the political arena, seeking to take their destinies into their own hands. In so doing, they transformed themselves just as much as they shaped their workplaces and society. To quote Oklahoma teacher Gabrielle Price, educators took a crash course in politics and government and will never be able to unsee what they have seen. There is more than a little poetic justice in the fact that many strikers belonged to the white working class that liberal elites blamed for Trump's election. Teacher after teacher recounted to me epiphanies produced in the heat of struggle, ranging from disillusionment in Republican politicians to a newfound sense of individual and collective power. In the words of one Arizona educator, rallying at the Capitol was one of few moments in my lifetime where I felt I stood exactly where one ought to. It was unequivocally purposeful, courageous, and joyful. Teachers and support staff were not the only ones to reach new political conclusions. Millions of workers in each of these states witnessed a major social battle in which workers, for once, came out on top. A whole generation of young people in particular just learned firsthand that mass action is both legitimate and effective. To quote Oklahoma high school student Ravi Patel, "Our teachers are setting an example of bravery by standing up to ignorance and inaction. Our teachers are setting a better example than our legislators have for the past decade." To make these strikes a success, rank-and-file educators were obliged to step up in dozens of ways. Though labor unions played an important role in the walkouts, movement activities were often improvised from below, with all the strengths and limitations that this entailed. Their contributions included unglamorous tasks like making signs, collecting food for students, reading up on legislation, speaking with confused parents, texting a coworker to remind them to participate in the strike vote, or driving a group of peers to the Capitol. Other actions required a bigger leap. For many teachers, this was the first time they'd made a speech at a rally, convinced coworkers to participate in a political action, spoken to the press, chaired a mass meeting, or confronted a politician. In the span of a few months, tens of thousands of educators confronted and overcame personal fears, physical exhaustion, Republican bullying, and employer disciplinary intimidation. Initially, most doubted that a work stoppage was possible because public sector strikes are prohibited in each of these states. As teacher Rebecca Gorelli recalls, people in Arizona were scared to rock the boat. And then West Virginia happened. All of a sudden the catalyst was there. They're doing it, why can't we? Though breaking the law was not a decision easily undertaken, teachers eventually embraced their defiance. Highlighting the long tradition of taking illegal action to win a righteous cause, many strikers made homemade signs that read, "Rosa Parks was not wrong." One West Virginia teacher posted the following to Facebook, "The way I look at it, Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. took a stand. I'd be in great company if the state tries to throw us in jail." Legal threats were not the only ordeals they faced. In West Virginia, educators rallied for hours in the frigid rain. In Arizona, they marched and demonstrated in 95-degree heat. Many also stressed the emotional turmoil associated with their participation in such a political roller coaster. According to Azarine Mullins, "Our feelings were extreme from one minute to the next because of things that were happening inside the Capitol doors. You'd feel exhilarated next to your chanting coworkers."